I can remember working with a female co-host once when we were talking to Julia Gillard, and she referred to the then Prime Minister as Dahl. And God, I nearly fell off my chair. I mean, to me, that's far worse in a lot of ways than Albo saying he'd like to shag Kylie Minogue. I don't think I've talked about Albo yet, and his joke on a podcast about wanting to shag Kylie Minogue. Firstly, let's spare a thought for Kylie. The idea of Albo just really banging away must have been quite disturbing, apart from the fact that it's a ridiculous thing for Albo to say. The thought of it for Kylie must have been a tough one. If she started to visualise it, if she started thinking, Jesus, what would that be like? What would it be like to have Albo just climb on top? Because he's given us permission to think about that by taking part in this podcast where he said, as one of those marry, shag, or I forget what the other one is. Kill? Is that how it works? Surely they haven't put that to the Prime Minister. So anyway, as part of that game-playing process on this podcast, he's suggested that he'd shag Kylie Minogue. When I made my comments about the Matildas and whether I'd like to watch them play, amongst other comments that had me labelled as a misogynist and a sexist, and it was a challenging time. Albo was happy to jump on. He was part of the pile-on at a local radio station. He had a real tilt at me. So now I think it would be remiss of me not to return the favour. I mean, there's so many issues this raises. What are you doing a podcast for in the first place? Kevin Rudd was the first guy to really do this, I reckon, to hit that sort of FM radio world. Prior to that, you could very rarely get a Prime Minister on radio, particularly FM. I mean, you could always get him on AM, but you couldn't get him on FM. They thought it was a dirty little world full of teeny boppers and rock dogs, which I guess to a degree it is. But I think they realised, particularly with Kevin and his staff, that there was some real accessibility there that they hadn't been utilising. So Kevin was the first Prime Minister that I think I spoke to on the radio. And then it became, they were always offered to you. Albo was offered to me many, many times, and eventually I did speak to Albo. But I always sort of felt like, well, if I talk to Albo, I've got to talk to whoever the opposition leader is. And it was often the opposition leader that I wasn't interested in talking to. I can remember working with a female co-host once when we were talking to Julia Gillard, and she referred to the then Prime Minister as Dahl. And God, I nearly fell off my chair. I mean, to me, that's far worse in a lot of ways than Albo saying he'd like to shag Kylie Minogue. So anyway, Albo's had an attempt at humour, much like my own, which backfired sensationally, much like my own. But just, Albo, slow down. Stop trying to be everything to everyone, because you're not, mate. You're not fun. You're not fun and funny. Just stick in your lane. Jeez. Let's see what song it is. Oh, it's one of those computer games. It is computer games. My sex. Yes.